The entire party's here in the Fair Access Committee, so we can go, I think.
All right, sounds good.
Nobody's still zooming in, though?
Nobody yet.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, so you're live now.
Okay, thanks. Good evening, everyone. This is the January 11th meeting of the Fair Access Committee. Thank you for being either online or being here tonight. I really appreciate it. We have a lot of our committee members here: Nancy Kidd, Adam Soroka, Sarah Paxima, Ed Reed, and me are here tonight. And we've got some people in the audience, so that'd be great to have a little dialogue. First off, before we get to our special guest, I'd like to have our minutes. I think I sent them around to you for September and November adopted. We had no meeting in October, and we had none in December because we had our holiday events. So if anybody would like to make a motion to adopt the minutes, that would be great.
Motion to adopt minutes.
Is there a second?
Sure, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So tonight we have a very special guest, Marilyn Balcom, who's our District 2 council member, and done a great job so far, and she's got a new year coming ahead of her, so we thought we'd invite her to come in and tell us what's on her agenda, and also we got some audience members that may want to ask questions, and that'd be great too. So Marilyn, if you wouldn't mind, come up and tell us what you'd like to talk about, and then we go from there. Thanks.
Do I need to push any buttons?
Nope, it's ready.
All right. I feel like my back is to the audience, to the community. I'm so sorry.
Well, if you want to come up here, you can stand in a microphone, that's fine too. You want to do that? You can. That's fine. Do that. Or sit in my seat, I don't care.
No,
Either way.
Oh, gosh. I just felt like my back was to people. So thank you. I'm Marilyn Balcom, council member for District 2, which is Germantown, Clarksburg, Poolesville, Darnestown and North Potomac, Boyds, Dickerson, Bealsville, Barnesville, and I love the district. So starting my second year, and I'm up here all the time. I know most people here, and I really appreciate the relationship that we've built. I don't think anybody's afraid to call me or email me about issues. So some of the things that are pertinent to the community, our capital improvement projects or budget, CIP budget, is coming out on Tuesday, and we fully expect that the community center, that the Poolesville Community Center will be in the budget, and thanks to the work of the Fair Access Committee and WUMCO, we expect that clinic space of some sort will be part of the community center. Now, when we get the budget, it's just gonna have a number, a dollar figure there. We won't really know how much it's going to cost to build the center until the planning. So the first thing that'll happen is the county will, hire contractors to plan, then look at an architect and those kinds of things. So I think it's great that, and it wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the Fair Access Committee. So I think that it's very well recognized in the county what a great job Poolesville has done to really strongly advocate for the needs of the community. So great job. As important is going forward when throughout the planning process of making sure that this community center is everything that you need given the budget constraints, right? So it's you'll have a very long wish list, and then you'll decide what those priorities are, and working with county staff to make sure that this community center really suits your needs and what you want. I would say the other thing, so that's the capital budget. And once we get it on Tuesday, we'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we'll share what other aspects there are that might resonate with the Poolesville, and kind of let you know on that. And then the next will be the operating budget. That'll be in March. And let me back up. So the county is in fairly good shape financially when it comes to the capital projects. We have our reserves are very healthy, and we're very conservative in spending that money because we don't want to spend it on operating programs that may not be sustainable. So I think we're going to be in good shape for our capital projects. Operating, we won't quite know that until March. It's really frustrating. A lot of our revenue projections come in very late, particularly from the state. So not quite sure what our financial picture is going to be for next year. One of the things that I'm working very hard on, and with WUMCO, of course, and Fair Access, is rural health care, a rural health care initiative. We have other health initiatives in the county that have line item budget amounts, which are, there's a Asian American Pacific Islanders, Hispanic Healthcare Initiative, there's I'm missing one. I think there's African American Healthcare Initiative, and I'm really pressing for a line item for rural health care. So I don't know whether we're going to have it or not. If the ideal situation is that when the budget comes over, it's there. And then it's my job to keep it there, if it's not, that it doesn't end there. We're going to continue to push to get rural health a permanent line item for rural health, and I've had good response from my colleagues, and very good response from the Dr. Bridgers and Dr. Rogers. Again, thanking Fair Access Committee and WUMCO for helping me push that through. The other thing, we're looking. There are several things that are going on in the Ag Reserve. Won't go into much detail. There is a proposal to put overnight stays in the Ag Reserve, and the public hearing is on Tuesday. So that's happening. I didn't support the bill, and we're looking at a potential of pausing that for a minute to think more clearly about what overnight stays in the Ag Reserve would look like, and if it's appropriate, and if so, how it would work and what the parameters would be. So there's a lot of activity going on in the Ag Reserve about that, so you may have heard about it, you may have opinions about it. If you do have opinions about it, please let me know what your thoughts are. And I think that's it for, just, and I'm very happy to answer questions if you have any questions about anything that might pop up.
Marilyn, just before, I certainly want the audience to ask any questions you want, but just to clarify a little bit more on the budget, because we've been involved in this a lot in the past with the school, and the public process is one thing, but there's also a lot of negotiation that goes on behind the scenes, and isn't it important then to make sure the community keeps engaged and make sure they know that it's, because I know in those horse trading that goes on there, it's pretty tough to keep items in the budget sometimes.
So absolutely. So the community's done a very good job of getting the community center in the budget. The next step is to make sure that it stays in the budget. So the formal process, as you said, is for the community to testify when we have our budget hearings for the CIP for the town and for the Fair Access Committee and for individual communities to submit testimony or comment, testify.
And that's in February?
I don't know the dates.
Okay.
I think they're in, probably February. They're
Okay.
on my calendar. So that's important. But it's also important to communicate with all the council members, to particularly the council members that you have a relationship with. So, and I always remind everyone, you have 5 council members. You have your district council member and your 4 at-large members, and Poolesville has the added benefit of having a 6th council member, the current council president, Andrew Friedson, who was your previous council member. And so I just, don't be shy. We get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails and phone calls. Just make sure that you're one of those, or 50 of those. And I'll be in direct, if ever I feel like there's any jeopardy, I'll let the community know that when I might need some help in that. And I know that you're already having those conversations.
Right. We've met with a number of council members now just to kind of go over our agenda, so, do other members have any questions, Ed, or?
I just want to say thank you for your consistency in your advocacy, and then your willingness to partner up with other council members who we share mutual interests in terms of the work that's done. So I just want to publicly acknowledge what you've been doing and what Don has been doing, and how you all are able to work together along with Andrew. So I appreciate your willingness to also stand firm, even if you might have a thought that's different than the popular thought, but being able to speak up and be an advocate for our region. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Audience members, anybody, if you want to ask a question, just go to the mic so people on Zoom can hear on YouTube as well. So, Bernie,
Go for it, Bernie.
go ahead.
Just state your name.
I didn't come up here to ask questions. I came more up to just to listen to you, and I'd like to emphasize what Ed had said, is that, first of all, my name is Bernie Mem. We've met several times. I own or co-own Fine Earth Landscape. I've been in Poolesville for 40 years, actually. 40 years next month. So thank you very much, because I've seen you up here a lot. And you're obviously very interested and very outgoing and, serving the community, and that's just great. Again, I didn't come up here to ask a question, but because you put me on the spot, I will. I guess I'll just ask about the second part of your what you were talking about the zoning text
Sure.
amendment. I think there's pretty much universal opposition to that here, and I couldn't imagine having tens or dozens of little 10 mini house communities up here. I mean, it just makes zero sense, I think. On the other hand, I have friends that own a equestrian center. There's bunches of those up here. Some of the people that spoke at the, pretty much it was, again, universally against at the Sugarloaf Citizens Association meeting, but there were a couple people at the end that were farmers, and one group of people who were for it. They have a farm with a lot of different crops, and they said, we would like something like this. So I think, I don't know what the feeling is for having 3 or something like that, and a certain amount of acreage and setbacks and all that kind of stuff. But the way that it is, at least now, I appreciate you being against it, because I just don't see that as a good idea at all.
Yeah, and I think that what I'm hoping is that we have an opportunity to have a much lengthier, much more in-depth conversation about what would overnight stays in the ag reserve look like, right? If that was something that was desirable, and the overwhelming response has been opposition. However, we have had some people who support the amendment, or the ZTA. So I think there's an opportunity to take a step back and to say, what does this, if it were to happen, how, and what would it look like? But I think there's the big if there. And I just, my view throughout this process has been, we just have not had a chance to have really rich dialogue with the community on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's coming from a council person that's a down county council person, and you represent us, and again, I appreciate your being in touch with the community and, kind of fulfilling our wishes. But again, I'm not saying I'm for or against having three, the
Yeah.
number 3 or something like that. If you have an acreage, if you have an equestrian center, if you have a farm, even if you have a commodity farm, I don't think there would be a tremendous market for it, so it's not like there's going to be hundreds of people coming out here anyway. But on the other hand, you think, again, equestrian center, maybe we're being a little bit selfish by saying, oh, well, we live here, we don't want anybody else to come up here. You have to buy a big property, and build a house in order to come up here and spend the night. So anyway, thank you again for coming, and like I said, I've seen you around a lot, and that's a great thing. I
Great,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks, Bernie. Anybody else want to ask a question, or, okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Claire Gunster Kirby, and I'm one of the board members with Poolesville Seniors. And my concern is with the community center, and I've heard rumor, I don't know if it's true, that we're going to be kind of short shrifted a little bit on the size of the exercise area, the gymnasium. And the reasoning was that, well, the high school got a real big gym, so we have to cut the center gym, which is, to me, absolutely makes no sense, because the high school gym's not available to the Poolesville seniors during the daytime hours when we do most of our activities, and it's also not available to the community during the day for 3/4 of the year. I don't care if their high school gym is as big as the CAP Center, it doesn't matter, because we can't use it. So for us to make full use of the community center, it needs to serve the needs of the community, and I think it's important that the county remember that it's not just Poolesville that's going to use this center. It's Barnesville, it's Boyd's, it's Germantown, it's even Gaithersburg. We have, for our pickleball group, we have people coming from us from Montgomery Village. We have some from Friendship Heights that come out to Poolesville to play pickleball. And we have a lot of people from Germantown, a lot of people from Gaithersburg. So we're really serving a huge area in addition to just the ag reserve communities. And right now, our activities with the senior center we're using Spear Hall, the Presbyterian Church, and we've outgrown it. We have over 600 events every year, and we have literally outgrown the times available and the space available. And so we really need a community center that's going to be worthwhile, not just something that's good enough. And so that's my only concern.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I think that's where, when they design the center, I think that's exactly what we need to look at to make sure that it's adequate.
I would hope they'll have more stakeholder meetings with us then.
I'm assuming that they will. I mean, I've been involved in these kinds of things, just as a resident
Right.
in Germantown, and they'll have different times, charrettes, where they'll ask the community to come, and the only thing that will be, the overall size has been determined, the footprint, but how it all fits together,
Right.
I think that there will have some say in that.
Okay. Is there something that's public that that
No.
stakeholders can look at?
Not yet.
Not yet, no. The first thing,
Like they'll be releasing that.
Oh, yeah, they will be releasing the POR before too long, but it's not a design, it's
Yeah.
basically a wish
I
list at this.
it's a wish list.
Yeah.
The wish list
What
is
it
I'm
is.
good.
familiar with the process, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to see in the POR, what have they already whittled down or
Yeah.
out? That's my.
Yeah, I think that becomes public at some point. Next Tuesday, we'll get 2 paragraphs.
Right, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But I can ask about when that becomes public.
Okay, perfect.
I think we can also speak to it, Sarah, you were there too, so part of where you may have heard that from was that there was a briefing, just a real private, quiet briefing, it wasn't a public thing, it was just kind of, here's where we are at this point because the Fair Access Committee's been pushing for it, so they briefed us.
Right.
So we knew that they included clinic space in it, but they also said, this is a wish list, it's 30,000 square feet now, it can't be that big, because most of the ones down county are that big. We're not going to be able to get anything that size. It's more like 15,000 square feet is what they're thinking, which would make sense. We were asked to visit another community center to take a look at how it looks. And it was the Good Hope Community Center, which is on Route 650 in
Right.
New Hampshire Boulevard.
Familiar with that.
It's a great little center. I think it was well-designed. But that conversation did come up. They actually had been thinking that maybe we don't need a permanent exercise area. In other words, we roll stuff out maybe and have a room for it and then put it back. But Sarah pushed back on that pretty hard at the time. And others did too, and said, look, we have seniors who need to use this.
Right.
And they need it for rehab, and it's not just to, to exercise or for weight training and that kind of thing. So I think they did hear that.
Yeah, I think what I took away from it was they were saying, listen, for other communities of your size, this is about the square footage that you can expect to be approved.
Right.
And given that square footage, here's an idea of how it has been used at this Good Hope Community Center.
Okay.
And yours might look similar to this, or it might be different, but this should give you a sense. And the gym over there was a good sized gym. It didn't have a lot of seating around the side.
We don't need seating around the side.
But the kids do,
and,
so.
we did talk to them about our gym would need to be bigger than that exact gym that they showed us.
Right.
But ultimately, I think my understanding is that it's going to be a conversation with the community. Say, essentially, here's your budget.
Right.
Right.
Here's your square footage.
Right.
You as a community decide what are your priorities and how are you going to use that space. And so I think that's all. These types of conversations will continue to happen.
It's far from being set in stone at
Right.
this point.
Okay.
So.
And
But glad you raised it.
Yeah, I did have the conversation with the county executive branch about the use of the high school gym.
Right.
And I agreed with you, that it's just simply a non-starter.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so,
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Want to come
You want to come up?
Hey, Val.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Valerie Dickerson. Hi, Marilyn. So, yeah, I'm right there with Ed. Thanks for everything that you do. You know how much we appreciate you and the attention that you give to us. So, in the few things that you talked about, Marilyn, first, the rural health program. I know you're fighting to get that as a line item. How do you see that looking as a line item?
so in HHS, there's various budget items. You mean in terms of how much money?
Yeah.
I don't know. We played around with a figure of 250 last year.
Okay.
500.
So you haven't made a
500?
proposal for an amount?
No.
You're just asking for the line item right now?
Well, we're talking with them about what should be included, yes.
Right. And I know that's,
Yeah.
a collaboration
Yeah.
and a super important one. I'm sure
Yeah.
that, everybody is going to advocate for that based on the fact that we are, as you know, in the middle of nowhere, and we're not receiving the type of care that the rest of the county is being afforded based on our location for our seniors especially. So, having said that, it brings me right to Claire's point about the community center and the fact that, right now the county's advertising all over about the free gym space that they're going to be giving again for 2024 to anyone who wants to use it. And our seniors can't get to anything. The rest of the county, the rest of the people paying the same amount of taxes that we are all getting and being afforded a completely free, use of the gym centers, and we, our people, as you know, have no means to do any of that. So certainly fighting for that space, and I know you guys have been doing a great job, and we are so lucky that we are being afforded the community center within this budget. And again, yes, we have to keep it there, and that's your job. And I like the idea, because my other question was, what is the square footage of that space? And I thought it was around 15,000.
It's not set in stone
But
yet.
it hasn't been set as
Yeah.
of yet.
All we can tell you is that when they first started meeting with them, they told us that there's a standard in the county of 30,000 square feet to serve around 33,000 people. And so if you take 12,000 or so,
Sure, okay.
15,000, and it's
Right.
about half that is what we're, and that's what they told us. It's
Right.
probably going to be about half that.
With some maybe added space for the clinic.
Yeah. Well, it's,
So I was going to
that's
say,
in there
what
too.
else is in that? What else is going to encompass that space? Or is that basically they're saying, here's the space, and you're saying that your feeling is they're going to ask us to
Well-
vet that out?
I thought they did a good job of kind of outlining, there's going to be a gym. There's going to be some type of multi-purpose recreational space
Right.
that is going to have some dividers, so it can be used by multiple groups at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
or large events like dances.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Good Hope Center.
Yeah.
Right.
I've
I mean,
actually
it's-
DJ'd there, yeah.
And they did say something about having some, like 2 bathrooms with showers, because it would be part of the sort of resiliency plan. So there were some things that they were like, we are planning on this, but then when it comes down to maybe like a secondary recreational game space, that is an area where, do we even need it, or how big would it be if we did have it?
Sure.
Informal gathering space in the front was another one, kind of like how
Right.
big does that really need to be?
So the gym, when they actually talked about the gym, did they actually talk about a gym that had permanent
Risers.
things in it?
You mean seats?
Well, the
Equipment.
Oh.
equipment, like they showed us ways in which they stored equipment in.
Oh, I see. So
I
it
mean, you
wasn't.
can rotate the equipment in and
Okay.
out depending on who's using the space.
Yeah. Which I'm thinking of other gyms, like the one in Germantown,
like
that has
the-
permanent equipment.
Like the
Yeah.
basketball hoop. obviously, would
Definitely
go up and
basketball
down.
hoops.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
Absolutely.
They had a
Are you-
gym
are
and
you
a
talking
fitness
about,
room, so
like,
you might be talking about the
Work or
fitness room.
exercise equipment?
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, Ed.
Sorry, they had a fitness room and a gym. So I
Right.
don't know if you might be referring to the fitness room.
Fitness room. You're right.
Weights and things like
Fitness
that.
room is what I'm referring to.
Yes,
Okay,
and
that's the same
fitness room,
question.
we did talk to them about
Yeah.
that needing to be a permanent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Space.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like not trying to combine that with the recreation
Right.
space.
Right. That's my big concern because I think that is so necessary.
And that's what they had in Good Hope also. They had the fitness, when we went over there, they did have a.
Yeah, they have a fitness area.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And then they have a
Then
recreation
they
space.
have the recreation. Then they
Okay.
have the gym. It's the gymnasium where you had basketball. You could do different things
Sure.
in the gymnasium. Then they had the fitness center. When you first walk in on the far left, there's a fitness
Yeah.
center there where you have workout equipment.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right. Then you have the gymnasium. There were some kids in there playing basketball. They had an interesting bleacher system where things were pushed against
into the
the wall,
wall.
but then they
All the
come
way up.
out.
Yeah.
Then they had another social area. Then they had a warmer station set up
Mm-hmm.
where vendors could come in and out on the back side. And so that was a neat thing that they had.
Yeah.
Then you could have the dividers inside of there as well. So how you use space.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm really just kind of mentally focused on that fitness
Yeah.
portion of it, that, we really need to have something that's permanent in the fitness area, for sure.
The other thing that was, I thought impressive about Good Hope was they have a community hall, they call it, and it's dividable, as Ed said, and it had sinks in both ends, so you can do art projects there. They have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
storage, so you can do all kinds of, those kinds of things in
Yeah.
those kind of two spaces, which is
And do
nice.
we know if this would be, I'm assuming it would all be run under the county, so you would still be getting space or talking to them about, events. That wouldn't be something that Poolesville would be overseeing. That would all
And the
be,
county would provide that staffing. Would
Right.
Fund.
which also
staffing.
means that any other area could essentially come in and use it.
Yes.
They could book it, use it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
Nonprofit groups do have programs there, so.
Sure.
But they have
Yeah.
one staffer who's full-time.
Right.
For the county.
Right.
One of the things too, that with the staffer, like when we were over at Good Hope, is they talked about working with the local community. So when you're sitting down planning out what type of programs you're going to provide.
Yeah,
And I noticed that about, I guess it was maybe a year and a half ago when we went over to,
Kingsview?
not Kingsview, this is the other one. We went to
Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah,
Oh,
We went
yeah.
over to Scotland. And so you talk to the different program, the different people who are running
Different
the
idea.
center. And once again, it was very important to them to make sure you're working with the local community when you're thinking about activities. So what would activities
Yep.
be with seniors? What would activities be with youth?
yeah,
Because those two groups would probably be your major groups, your seniors and your youth, that would be utilizing the center for programming that the county will.
That's been my experience over the years, because I've done a lot with my DJ business with the seniors, the youths, and the seniors all along. So I know that they take up a lot of, the time that's allocated in those centers, which is great. That's what we want it for. So, that's a good thing. Yeah. So we're thinking, what are you saying on, we're going to hear something about the space soon?
The POR will not actually have a specific design or anything. You're
Right.
just going to see, which we saw in the briefing, a list of the kinds of rooms that they heard people said, or in functions they thought
Stakeholder
would be
feedback.
needed.
Okay.
So the clinic space was definitely in there.
Yep.
And they have an estimate of that, how much square footage would be required. They've been talking to Keisha Davis, the public health officer, about that.
Yeah.
So once we see that publicly, then we can start ourselves saying, well, that doesn't really fit, or, if WMCO doesn't see
Yeah.
the clinic space meeting their needs, we can talk about that. So there's time to do that.
Yeah.
But,
And,
yeah.
and of course, obviously, WMCO is a huge part of
Right.
this.
Right. And I got to tell you, they got that message. The health space has to be in the clinic.
Everyone kept saying.
It has to be
"This is
there."
definitely happening,
Yeah.
the health space.
They definitely got that message.
I feel like if there's anybody in this county that doesn't get the WMCO message right now, something might be wrong with them. Marilyn, the only other question I want to ask you about is obviously my never-ending question about transportation. We just keep going on, and I feel like this is one of those things that, it's kind of like the high school. It's something we've been talking about forever, trying to get better transportation. And I know that there's some routes that are being redone a little bit. We're looking at that. Is there any murmurs of additional transportation coming to us?
No.
Hired. No.
So we're in a real bind with transportation right now, particularly because of of state funding. So let me just separate Poolesville's needs from the county's needs, right? The state, the governor just really did a hatchet job on transportation funding across the state, and it's because of the gas tax. So the transportation funding is funded by the gas tax. The gas tax revenue continues to go down for many reasons. People aren't driving as much. People are driving more fuel-efficient cars, and we have more EV cars. That's the EVs are a small percentage, but less driving and fuel-efficient cars. So the state, a lot of our transportation is funded by the state, and so where the county is in a bind on transportation. So I don't see a lot of new transportation coming online. I think that from the perspective of, there has been some change in the bus proposals for changes in the bus schedule. There was a hearing, public conversation a month ago or so.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to happen. We talked, the weekend service, full-time, daytime service, I don't see that coming online this year. That's also separate and apart from the conversation that we have about transportation for healthcare needs. I think that if we get the Rural Healthcare Initiative, I think that will help us start talking about transportation and looking at transportation funding for healthcare.
Yeah, and I think, we all hear that loud and clear regularly, and this transportation issue has been an issue for so long. But, something that Andrew and I talked about so many times was trying to, and this goes back to like the Poolesville High School thing, trying to get out of the box with that. We have to figure out a way to create transportation in the up county somewhere within this whole, the whole measure and the whole puzzle of it all. There has to be a way to create some transportation. And I know that you and I have sat and talked about this endlessly. But I just, I just feel like, just like with the, look what Katie and Melissa have done to create an opportunity through WAMCO for healthcare, the healthcare initiative up here. I think sometimes it just takes, a little extra thinking outside of the box. And I know we've all brainstormed on that, but I always like to bring it up, like, let's not forget, if in our thought process, we have to find a way to get better transportation for our seniors.
And the problem is that the paradigm is ridership, right? And that's the way the county looks at routes, it's ridership.
Sure.
And the up county just can never compete, just will
know.
never be able to
That's
compete.
why we have to throw that measure out the window. Find a different one.
One thing, Valerie, I did want to
Fair access keeps.
let you know
different-
about was that
Different metrics.
Exactly.
Yes.
over the summer, working with Katie and Terry and Melissa, I did participate in this thing they call Ride On Reimagined. It's supposedly relook at all the bus routes and can we do a better job of serving the community than we are? And it's not just us, it's the entire county.
Sure.
So we submitted several different comments. I went to 3 different meetings where they laid out the maps for us and they showed us some alternatives. They did take to heart a lot of our comments. They really do say that you got a point. On the other hand, they say also what Marilyn said, which, you think about it, a bus goes all the way from Darnestown to Poolesville, there's nothing in between. So essentially they're saying, how do you support a bus that doesn't have any stops anywhere? But we did propose alternatives, including the idea that the bus would go down to go 118 and go to the bus stop in Germantown. You could get on the 99 bus, which actually has I think it's every 15 minutes a bus comes in or something. Goes down to Shady Grove Road, all along Shady Grove
Along the
Road.
medical-
So they would be
medical
able to do
corridor.
something that way. We also proposed a flex zone in this area. There's flex zones in 2 parts of the county right now, Rockville and Glenmont. And what they are is kind of self-contained areas where if you're a resident of that flex zone, you can actually call and they will take you to another spot. It's not exactly on demand, but it's close. So we've proposed the same idea, but in reverse out here. So in other words, people could be brought to Poolesville and get to the bus. They took those ideas in, and they actually have a lot of them in the ideas section of that plan, but there's no funding as far as I know for any of it. So whether that's going to happen, but they know a lot more now about what our needs are, and whether that's going to happen anytime soon is doubtful, but we have been trying.
Yeah. I know that everyone is trying.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things you have to just keep saying out loud.
yeah.
And maybe with the Rural Healthcare Initiative, we find a way to provide that exclusive transportation out here. Because I think it's super important, super important. I mean, Andrew had at least, looked into that bucket of money that was being used for taxi cabs
Right.
and people to pick up, around the county. But unfortunately, those types of services don't go anywhere other than where a bus goes. And well, we don't have a bus that goes anywhere out here. So, but I appreciate all that you're doing, and it's always good to see you.
Thank you. Katie, did you want to?
Hi, Katie Longbreak.
Hi.
I am the director of WAMCO. You keep hearing about WAMCO. And Marilyn has been such an amazing partner, and Fair Access. I feel like we've just been working together so well. So thank you for all of your work. I wanted to give an update on what is going on in the healthcare stuff. WAMCO is currently a subcontractor on a county contract to get some funds for healthcare access coming out here. So we just hired Anna Paula Bettinger to be our community resource coordinator as part of that contract. She's going to be doing some case management that's not called case management because of the county contract. Shh, Marilyn. But helping people connect with services better, both here and countywide. And so that is going to be really great. And she's bilingual, which is amazing. So that is happening. We are starting English as a second language because the county is interested in supporting social determinants of health, which is really everything WAMCO does, is social determinants of health. So they are supporting a lot of what we're doing in that avenue. And then as far as the direct medical care and things like that, we are also working with the county. They're coming next Thursday for the first time. We're starting off with healthcare screenings, which we are pushing hard to think outside the box, like we always are out here at the county, because getting a healthcare screening and telling someone you have high blood pressure, but you need to go down county to the clinic isn't very helpful. So we're working hard. They are looking to hire a nurse practitioner that would be able to come out and actually offer care. And we're encouraging them to work together with Care for Your Health, which is a health providing organization that's already coming out. So that is going to be happening. They're also bringing out a social worker for behavioral health needs. So we're very excited to be able to offer those services in our area. And we're working towards the county providing more dental services. Currently, WUMCO is providing dental services, but it's not sustainable long-term for us to be able to fundraise to keep doing that. So we're hoping that the county will take more of the dental services going forward. We're moving in a really positive direction. I want to emphasize that these health services, while WUMCO is advocating and organizing, it is not just for WUMCO clients. It is for anyone in our area that can use these services. So it's not limited to just lower income folks. If it's just because you can't get to a down county provider, we are bringing it out here. So it is open to anyone. And please, if you have a moment next Thursday between 10 and 6, come on out to WUMCO because we want some numbers. So come get your blood pressure taken and say hi. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do, Katie. I appreciate it. Marilyn, on one quick question on the rural healthcare initiative. So there's two parts to the Ag Reserve. You've got the bulk of it, and Dawn has the other part. Is she a part of this and supporting the rural healthcare initiative?
So she's been briefed on it. We haven't really talked a lot about it, and we do recognize that there are two parts. Dawn and I call it I'm the Upper West Side, she's the Upper East Side. But so whatever happens will be for all of rural Montgomery County. The issue is that there's not a WUMCO
Yes.
on the east side. And so what's been really very beneficial is to have WUMCO take the lead. And so we don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
And so this might be a start, a piece of something.
Right.
And it may also, given the great progress I feel that's been made this year, it may not necessarily be a significant increase in funding, but it's going to take the pieces that are already there and put it into this bucket of rural health. My goal is sustainability, right? So every year when the county executive prepares his budget, he or she is looking at what are the needs of the rural community, and so to me that's the advantage of having this line item.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
So I wanted to bring up, because it was being talked about, the ZTA, in that conversation that was being had about the ag reserve zoning. You know, and to what Bernie was saying and other people, you know, this is a double-edged sword, because we want people to come to the ag reserve and visit us, and we want them to comfortably be able to stay somewhere. And it's like Bernie was saying, you know, we don't want the message of, you know, if you can't afford to live out here, you can't come to visit us and you can't stay. But obviously, we want to be very careful about what we're allowing to happen. And I think we are all in agreement that the current proposal does not suit us. But having said that, there should be a proposal of some kind to allow overnight stays, whether it's in existing buildings that the county owns, allowing existing homes to have inside of their home a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb or, something of that nature where we're not adding more distress to the ag reserve in the way that this proposal would. So, I know that there's a lot of, the bulk of the people who are against this proposal are against the terms of it as it stands. Is that what you guys felt? Yeah, because I think there is some benefit to having allowing people to be able to come and stay in the ag reserve. How we figure that out, I think that's also a conversation that needs to happen amongst a lot of people, not just one person who is creating a plan for this area. But I do believe that, it would be nice to be able to afford our bicyclers a place to stay. The people who come out here and visit our wineries, yeah, they should have a place to stay because, we're asking people to come out here and drink all that wine and then drive back to wherever.
Transportation to bring them back.
Right. There is no, you can't even hardly get an Uber out here.
No.
But, I think there is a window of opportunity to do something. Obviously, we just have to figure out what that is.
In our economic summit, Valerie, you were there and
Yeah.
Carolyn was there. Certainly, there were a lot of ideas that were discussed. And
Yeah.
one of the things that was interesting, I thought, was comments from Knight Kiplinger, who,
Yeah.
as you know, is not only a historian, but he's also on the board of Montgomery Countryside Alliance.
Him and
So
I
he's a
have
very-
talked since then.
very connected guy, and he looked at an idea of maybe some way we can join historic preservation, which is an important issue too, with a lot of our older buildings falling down. And how do we maybe use that as a model where people can actually turn those into sort of small places to stay?
Yeah, and that's what I was
It's not a bad
saying,
idea, but
because
that's the
him and
kind of
I-
discussion we ought to be having, I
Yeah,
think,
him
of
and
how do
I
we do
talked
that?
about that day, about the buildings that the county has taken over, down at Seneca Pool House. Seneca, down at, by the pool, that little building there, the couple of buildings up in Bellsville that the county now owns.
Well, the Darby store is
Yeah, the
not
Darby
being used
store,
for anything, and it's
the house
a
next
nice
to
little
it, is
place.
that, did the county take over the house next to it?
Yeah, they have that too.
So
Yeah,
there's
on that
two
side.
beautiful homes right there. I think that, we have to get, again, a little creative about how we want to do it so that it fits into the footprint of our community for sure with the Ag Reserve. But I think there is a need and there should be an opportunity of some kind, just obviously not what's being proposed at the moment.
It's one of those tricky balance kind of things, but in the Thrive 2050 report, which doesn't really, it's not really a master plan for the Ag Reserve, it doesn't have a lot of details, but it does talk a lot about the fact that the wedges and quarters plan, which led to the Ag Reserve, did not really talk a lot about the economy outside the farming community and economy. And they did talk a lot about other things that are out here, like historic sites and recreation sites, but what you do to help make those things more viable and help people come out here and visit. They didn't do that much. Neither did Thrive 2050. It did talk about that, but one of the interesting lines in the report was that if you attract people out, it helps support the small businesses and farms and the historic sites, but it also does something else. It helps preserve the Ag Reserve because people now know what it is.
Yeah.
So one of the things they're trying to do is encourage people to come out here and see what it is and sample it and, really contribute to its economy. It's a tough thing to figure out.
It
how to
is,
do.
and because, I think in my mind, I've always wished that there was a camp out here where kids can stay overnight.
Well, there is. It's called Kaleva.
They
do.
I get it, but it's, do you know the means of them staying?
No, you're
In a
right.
barn with a sleeping bag? I
know.
mean, this is how it happens. I'm not saying I'm
Yeah.
against that, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about a camp.
No,
These kids don't come for a week and stay at Kaleva.
Right.
And
That's right.
I would love for us to have a camp in the Ag Reserve an overnight camp where kids could come and spend their time and learn about the Ag Reserve. But unfortunately, we don't have any means for that. And
Yeah.
I think these are the kind of things that we should be thinking about from the education.
Well, hopefully the pause will allow some of this dialogue to occur, so let's see.
So anyways.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val.
Anybody else? Well, Marilyn, if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you can, but if you don't want to.
I will stay, but I won't stay here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for doing all you
I wrote
do.
Something, and
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You made us a quorum, now we have no quorum, no. Well, thank you all for participating. It was great input. We got a couple of business items just quickly to go over, and I don't know if the other board members have anything else I want to raise, but I did want to do a couple of updates. We already talked about the community center, so you know about that. You also know about the rural healthcare initiative. I did want to talk quickly about the high school. Some of you know this already, but just to make sure the public knows it, they broke the project down into two phases, a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 is essentially all the classrooms, the new classrooms that are being built. Those are projected to be done at spring break. So the kids will be transitioning into the new classrooms at spring break. That's the plan. Once that's done, then they are going to move on to phase 2, which is the part that includes the administration facilities and, most importantly to me, and after the school classrooms, which is the most important thing, is the gymnasium. So that's that's the plan. It's still underway. And we're working now to try to make sure we get a briefing at some point soon about what that looks like so people can see what the new gym's dimensions are, which is much bigger than our current gym, where the location of the snack bar is and all that kind of thing. So more to come on that once we get that nailed down, but it's really looking promising and it's still going forward. So if anybody has any questions on that, but just wanted you to know about that. On White's Ferry, there's not a lot to report. You saw a lot of the media attention on the 3rd anniversary and that kind of thing. We do know that DOT has reached out again to the Virginia landowner. We don't know any details. We're hoping that after all that happened, including the hearing that Evan Glass chaired in October, that there will be some progress and that maybe they will actually consider a different proposal than the 50 cents a car, which clearly did not really work well for anybody at that point. It was pretty clear in the hearing. So whether that'll happen, we don't know, but they are still meeting with her, and that's good news. That's the only good news I can report at this point on Whites Ferry. So those are all I've got in terms of updates. Does anybody else in the committee have anything they wanted to update people on?
No.
Just quickly, I wanted to reinforce the budget that Marilyn mentioned, because for us, for Fair Access, we've got some work to do coming up, and quite a bit of work, actually. As she said, I don't know when the hearings are exactly, but normally, when the budget's submitted, which is this coming Tuesday, right after that, sometime in the February timeframe, usually the middle part, are when the CIP hearings happen. So we're certainly going to sign up. We did last time and testify. We did the last 5 years we've done that. And hopefully we'll have support as well from other folks, but that'll be coming in February. We're probably going to have to do a muster campaign from our community and get people to email and saying we support the community center just to make sure it stays in. And then whatever Maryland picks up that we need to do, we'll certainly have to respond to that. On the operating budget, that comes out in March 15th, I think it is. So after that, usually, again, the last I participated last year too. I think that was April and May is when the hearings were on that. So keep an eye out for that, and I would assume that WUMCO will want to testify on that too, since the rural healthcare initiative will be in there. But anyway, that's what the budget looks like. But it's going to be a lot of work for us. We're going to have to keep in touch with the council members, keep our ear to the ground, because not only the public process, but as Marilyn said, the private discussions that go on can result in changes that we hope are all good, but we also know that can be some things that delay us. So we've got to keep our ear to the ground for that. And then finally, we have to, Marilyn, do you have something?
Yeah, they're February 6th and 7th.
February 6th and 7th. Okay, thank you. February 6th and 7th. All right, we'll have to sign up. And then finally, our budget for the Fair Access Committee is going to be considered, at least we have to submit it, and I think the commissioners will have a discussion about it on this coming Tuesday. So just keep an eye out for that too. But we've submitted the budget, we've submitted background for what we've done this year, annual report and that kind of thing. I'll have an update for the annual report because of the White's Ferry situation. We've had a lot more media that we can report that I think the commissioners will want to know about, so we'll submit that too at the hearing. But other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape unless anybody else has anything else they want to raise.
No.
Okay. With that, Niles, thank you for getting us up and running. Thank you for those who participated on Zoom, and thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Can't turn it off.
I won't say this to you then.
I know, right?